All right, good folks. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I sincerely pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. Today, I want to share a brief lesson with you that arose out of our daily devotion for the temple. Today is the day of Ifa Ekuojuawu. And in the process of carrying out our devotion, we received a series of messages, but one of which is one of my favorites because it's something that I personally have grappled with in my life, and it's something that I have seen and experienced other people, some of whom have been my students, grapple with over the years. And it's a question of being coachable. Now, there is being teachable, right? When you're teachable, you are receptive to information, and it's more of an intellectual pursuit. If you don't know certain information and then I give you certain information, then, it's simple. That if we're saying language, or we're talking about math, or we're talking about history, you simply don't know. And I tell you this is what it is. You accept that this is what it is, and you go on with it until you hear otherwise. And that has its own mental and emotional process. But being coachable is slightly different. Being coachable is even more emotional than being teachable. And what I mean is that people who are coachable, I think about my time as an athlete, and the cash money Caro, the ways in which you may have technique, you may be able to do certain things, the sequence 1, 2, 3, but you're not, your coach is going to push you beyond your limits. Your coach is going to get in your head. Your coach is going to deliberately evoke your strongest emotions and drive you to manage those emotions, to go beyond those emotions. Your coach is going to drive you to the edge, to the brink of your perceived physical ability. And when you get to the brink of your physical ability, your coach is going to push you off the edge, And being coachable is much more painful than being teachable. And like I said, I think about my time when I was a high school athlete and I ran track. And I'll never forget, we had this exercise we would do called the run in the hill. And probably a lot of athletes have something similar in your area. Maybe y'all ran stairs or, whatever. But we had to run the hill. And it was in Southern California. It was really hot. It was really dry. It was really smoggy. And they would run us like crazy. And I remember one day running so much, man, that I was so dehydrated and I was so exhausted. And they just kept driving me and kept driving me and kept driving me and just getting all in my head and just saying all the most, evocative things that you could say to a 17, 16-year-old boy to drive him up the wall. And one of the rounds, I got to the top of the hill and I started to feel like my losing control of the muscles in my face. And first my mind was like, what? I didn't know, what I mean? I had never experienced that before. My body was just on fire and my muscles were, but then my face started to like twitch a little bit or something. And the more I realized what was happening, like the less control I had over my face, and I just started to twitch. And in that moment, I'm standing on the hill and I'm looking over the cliff, right? Like I'm looking out this window down, and I'm just thinking I should jump. I should just jump. This is, they're trying to kill me, and I should just end it. And just then, I was overwhelmed with emotion, and then I started to cry. And, some of my teammates just grabbed me up and was just like, let's go. We got another round, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got time for that. And they dragged me back down the hill, and we got into position, set, and bow. They blew the whistle, and back up I ran as hard as I possibly could. And in retrospect, I had to challenge myself. I had to question myself. I had to think, like, what just happened? What happened? What did I just do? How did I go from what I thought was my limit being really broken to then not only running again, but running even harder than I had run before? And I was younger then, so I didn't really go so deep into thought about it. But over the years, I've thought about it more and more and more and more and more and more. And I remember my performance after that. I remember the way I practiced after that. And I got to say that I'm so glad that I surrendered to the process, and I yielded, and I allowed myself to be pushed in a particular way, and to go beyond my perceived limitations. And so I want to urge you in the strongest way possible to be coachable. It's a very delicate process to submit yourself to someone else's demands and rigorous requirements, because you're going to think and feel all kinds of bad things about yourself and about the situation and about the people involved. But you've got to try to find it within yourself to trust the process and be coachable and go beyond your perceived limitations. And this was the lesson that we received today. It was particularly a lesson that came from Yaya Shon. And she was talking about somebody who has it within them, someone who has real potential, somebody who's been trying to do something, but they're not dealing with reality. This is someone who sees the truth, is exposed to the truth, but they continually allow skepticism to stand in the way of them surrendering to the truth, submitting to the truth, and responding to the truth. They would rather deal with their own imagined perception or image of reality. And that is precisely the reason why this person cannot achieve excellence. And so I believe that, you may not be like, I'm not an Olympic athlete, right? I never was contending to be an Olympic athlete. There was never any way that I could be an Olympic athlete. And you may not be the best at whatever it is that you're working on, but if you have somebody who's willing to coach you and really get into it deeply with you, then you can recognize the kind of Olympic effort that you're going to need to fulfill your destiny and achieve the greatest level of success at what it is that you're truly destined to do. And so this is a lesson that I want to send out to the leaders. If you're somebody who really wants to go beyond your perceived limitations in the process of helping to improve the world through positive influence, then I want you to find out how Oloye, Obafemi Origunwa, and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.